Hello everyone, Lumini here, and I'm still kind of coming off that high of just defeating Goss Harag naked with the Switch X. Now, I'm going to kind of do a live commentary as I watch this video essentially with y'all guys and give y'all my thoughts. Now, the first thing that came to mind is, obviously, Goss Harag in general tends to hit very, very hard. Unfortunately, especially in a naked run, this means that a lot of his attacks are one-shots. Now, granted, I can't really expect myself to perform at 100% capacity for the entire run. It gets exhausting to do so, and not only that, but you're also bound to make mistakes, especially if you haven't practiced it over and over again. So this here is my little routing to get a couple buffs. Normally I'd be using the Demon Pedal Ace, but I switched it out with the Absolute Pedal Ace because I get more of an HP bonus, and not only that, but I also get a couple extra defense as well. And that's going to be imperative in making sure that I survive a lot of attacks. So here I'm going for the Wire Bug because Basil Geese, in which case, in a lot of these attempts, I was hoping for Basil Geese to show up because, you know, he does a lot of fucking damage. You gotta respect that. So, of course, I get the mount, and before I actually go grab him, I grab another health Wire Bug. Spirit Bird, because, as you see, that's a plus 10 HP right here. And then, especially right here, where I ride along this side so I can grab another 10 HP. Now, I know that there is a defense bug right there, but I'm like, what the fuck not. So I just kind of start hammering down with the charge attacks. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't accidentally screw myself over to where I don't have enough to really take advantage of the of as many hits as possible for the mount finisher. So yeah, as you could tell, Basil Geese does quite a lot of damage to these monsters. And that's great, because I want to cut down on my stress as much as possible throughout this run. And now that I have control of my hunter again, I go ahead and start on the attack. I'm going to go ahead and do a elemental discharge attack, but I'm going to let it go early just because of that guy right there doing his thing and just blowing the shit out of everything. Now, I wasn't able to dodge the roar, but right here, I know he's going to start doing his ice beam attack so he could begin frosting up his arms. And so right here, I quickly switch over to the puppet spider, and much to my dismay, it actually does not get him into the mount status immediately, so I'm freaking out. So I'm like, I gotta hurry up. Thankfully, I kind of missed that. Granted, that's going to be a mistake later because I'm going to go ahead and grab another Wire Bug in hopes of using this. But not only that, but while I'm there, I'm going to sit down a Toad, and I was hoping to sit down a Bomb to let that activate my my Wyvern Ride, but I took too much time, so I completely lose out on the free damage over here. So of course, I got to get close to Goss Harag. As strange as it sounds, like, this is, like, probably the strangest dance of my life, because it consists of a lot of getting in and then getting away. So that way I can let Goss, like, do some of his attacks like that while maintaining a kind of safe distance so I can safely counterattack him. Now, and I should preface that for this fight, I actually took the time during the downtimes at my work to study this guy's frames, or all of his attacks, frame by frame for the most part. So thankfully I was able to get kind of good at dodging a lot of his attacks. Now right here, I go ahead and take the opportunity to do a ZSD for some good damage. Thankfully, his little headbutt does not kill me right there, so I'm very thankful for that. But I should note that, from what I've observed, a lot of his attacks tend to have follow-ups, especially his scarier attacks. Like, that one always comes out after a headbutt, and he'll always give you at least a little bit of time to counterattack. Now here, Goss decides to transition, so me, I'm like, you know, might as well pick up some shinies. Might as well take something for the road home, especially just in case if I fail. Now I see Tigrex coming along, so I'm like, okay, I gotta get this guy. Pray. Thankfully, the explosion happened before I took damage from the roar. So right here, I'm gonna quickly buff up. And I mean quickly, because I've learned my lesson the first time in where I lost my mount for Goss. But now, thankfully, I got Tigrex. I make sure to run over the defense bug, so that way I get a little extra something to help me out. And of course, you know, you just do wyvern riding shenanigans. Now here, I was trying to make sure I got as much damage as possible with the Tigrex, so that's why I decided to perform a light attack before going through with the heavy attacks. Now I'll go ahead with the Mount Punisher. Wazza! And quickly get to Goss's head as quickly as possible. Do a couple of smacks. And now, since this is freestyle, I decided to go ahead and use the Pitfall Trap. And while that's setting up, go on with the Wyvern Blade. And you know, he's just flailing around, so I'm going to get a couple smacks, break the arm, and begin with the ZSD. Now, a big reason why I ended up choosing the Tigrex Switch X is largely because of the exhaust files. I did have quite a few attempts with the Raytheon Switch X and its elemental files and its poisons, but I personally felt that just the raw damage from Tigrex coupled with the ability to get staggers with the exhaust files, I found that to be way too invaluable, and that's the reason why I ended up going with that. It's going to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get close. I could have punched it with a ZSD, or not a ZSD, with a flying Wyvern Blade, but I decided not to. Now that right there was a big reason why I picked up all the Spirit Birds. Because without those Spirit Birds and without the Mega Demon drugs, or Mega Armor drugs, I can tell you right now, that attack would have killed me for sure. Thankfully, we get the Ice Topple right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a Elemental Discharge in. Sure, it's not the grapple one, but who gives a shit? Got to get that damage in. Goes ahead with a double punch. Honestly, could have punched it with the sword attacks, but I don't know what I was thinking at the time. Dodge that, follows up with a 1-2. Go ahead, get a couple smacks in, and then I'm going to zip away, because he usually follows it up with a shoulder tackle if you're still close to him. Now right here, he gets his ice arms back without actually doing the ice beam, because he'll do that every once in a while. He's going to follow it up with one more, so I'm going to grab that, dodge out of the way, and then come back in for a couple of attacks. Now here he comes. Now I am dangerously close to him, but I guess if you kind of stick by his belly, it's kind of a safe spot as long as you manage to keep on dodging. Now right here, if you notice that he starts shooting out the shards more than twice, that means he's going to throw his ice arms, and of course, obviously, that's a very dangerous attack. But not only that, but for those of y'all who aren't used to fighting Goss without the sword arms, then that gets really dangerous. Now thankfully he's exhausted right there. I managed to get another exhaust proc, but I get forced off because he begins to transition areas. Get another smack in, and there he goes. Now I noticed that there's the armor squid right there, so I quickly grab it for that plus 30% defense bonus as well as the plus 50% affinity bonus, because unfortunately, as strong as the Tigrex Switch X is, it's still it gets dealt a kind of crappy hand in naked runs with its negative affinity. So the squids there are always very nice in helping to keep that alive. Now, only reason why I still zip through here, besides obvious it's kind of fast, is because I'm also kind of on the lookout for more spirit bugs, just in case, or not spirit bugs, spirit birds, so that way I could keep on getting more buffs. Now go ahead, rebuff myself. I try to make sure I stay out of Basil Geese's way so he doesn't look at me for too long before he really gets angry. Goss roars, and I see that Basil roars, so I'm kind of panicking because I'm like, oh fuck, he's roaring. He's going to come here. Now this one, honestly, I think I should have got hit by the first ice beam. It's a miracle that I lived. Now he's going to follow up with the second one, because if he swings with his left arm, he's going to follow it up with his right arm, because I guess Goss Harag is right-handed. Now again, I barely dodged that one. Super risky as hell. I could have punished it with the flying wyvern blade, but I ended up not doing so. And I just kind of go in with those overhead smacks just because they do respectable damage, and they also get you a little bit closer as well. Now he's going to go ahead. Like I said earlier, if it was not for all the Spirit Birds buffs, I would have died right there. And that's the big reason why I chose the Petal Ace one. And here he comes with another swipe. I could have punished it harder now that I'm looking at it. Oh, got it. Again, at this point, admittedly, this is about 10, 11 minutes in. I'm kind of panicking because I don't think oh yeah, at the time, I had not lasted as long against Goss before. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, this is probably the one. And so I'm panicking. I'm trying to do my best. And then I see that he's fucking blue. And at this point, my heart's just racing. So right here, I go ahead, punish his attack with the wyvern blade, get that explosion, flat damage in, which is honestly pretty invaluable, especially if you can't hit all of his good parts all the time. Now, the nice thing about that overhead sweep that he does with his left arm is that I find it kind of easier to dodge with switch X if you switch back into your X mode. Now he's going to go ahead and get rid of his swords, which has me kind of panicking. So I go ahead and punish that up with the wyvern blade. And of course he's going to do a little taunt because he's Goss. Now thankfully I get that dodge, but I know he's going to follow up with those swipes, so I get out of the way. Again, he's going to follow up with the swipes. Well, actually no, this time he actually followed up with the overhead smash. But generally, it's a rule of thumb is that whenever he does that force swipe slash attack, he tends to follow it up with those claws. He's going to do another shoulder tackle, in which case I just do a very modest punish. I get hit right there. I'm like, okay. Heart's pounding. Try not to die. After all, it would suck to die after this much effort got put in. Now he roars. Unfortunately, I do not get the iframe down. Now, I was actually kind of confused right here. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this. Do an elemental discharge. And I'll be honest, the stamina boost from those bugs mean nothing. I don't even give a damn. And then right here, I finally do it. The battle is won. And honestly, this was complete disbelief. Now, I'll be honest, this run can be significantly better, but I think for a first step, it's definitely on the right way, because before I would faint a couple times, and honestly, I wouldn't let myself continue after the first faint. So I didn't really know what victory felt like until this moment. But even then, I still think it was definitely a very good practice. And this was definitely a learning experience from this fight. And I do feel like I can more comfortably fight Goss Harag in the future. Will I do another naked attempt on this guy? You know, I did it once. I could do it again. And I could do it better. But will I do it for now? Maybe not until a little bit, because I still want to keep on grinding in this game, you know? This game's still kind of fresh out, and I feel I might as well get everything grinded up before the next title update. Well, that is it, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful day.